So I made a quick comment to Jeff Fortenberry when he stepped off and said they're used to the senator going along, not the House member, the congressman, because the senators are notorious for talking on and on. I'll make just some brief comments to you. It's a pleasure to be back with you again. As we had the opportunity to be able to visit together last June. I got to tell you about some of the work that's already going on in international trade at that time, and some of the things we were able to put in the Trade Promotion Authority bill to require religious liberty to be addressed every time we did any kind of economic engagement with another country. It's the first time ever to be able to do that. That is now being rolled out. I've had conversations with the new United States Trade Representative to make sure that when we do trade and economic negotiations, we're always including basic human rights, and it's specifically the issue of religious liberty. There's no reason that we should engage in a trade negotiation and not bring up the human rights and religious liberty issues. That's a basic American value, and it should be a basic right of every individual to be able to live out their faith in freedom and in peace. But I'll have to tell you, a few weeks ago, I was in Iraq and Syria for a few days, and visiting with some of the folks that were there on the ground. We changed planes in Doha, and as I changed planes in Doha, I looked up on the monitor, and all I could see was the image of a bus that had been shot and 28 Coptic Christians being murdered on their way to go worship. And we stood in the airport around as a group and looked at the news and followed it. And all I could think was, again. This is an ongoing issue. It's been a long-term conversation. While Egypt has made great progress, in statements, as Jeff Fortenberry was saying again, to be able to stand and say we are all Egyptians, it's not the first time the President Sisi to be able to say that, and I'm glad he continues to reiterate that. But there's an ongoing work for both terrorism in the Sinai and just basic dignity and protection of all individuals to be able to practice their faith and to be able to be considered a faithful citizen of a nation, regardless of the faith practice that you have. We still have a long way to go. I visited with Rex Tillerson, who's our Secretary of State, just yesterday, and had an ongoing conversation about where are we, because there's a position called the Ambassador at Large for Religious Liberty. That position has not been filled yet. The sole role of that individual is to be able to work with our State Department to make sure that all of our embassies have an ongoing conversation in country about religious liberty, and to be able to work with other foreign ministers and with our own State Department, and to be able to travel the world with this one basic principle. How can people live in your country free, with dignity, with the same values, the same abilities, the same responsibilities as everyone else in your nation, and the same opportunities, regardless of their faith principles? That position's unfilled currently in the State Department. Secretary Tillerson told me that they have made the recommendation now to the White House. They're waiting on final response back, but they have finished their work, and within a very short period of time, we should have that ambassador's position filled, and we're looking forward to getting them back to work, to getting a chance to travel around the world and engaging with every government to be able to engage in those basic principles. That should be simple, but for whatever reason, it's been complicated. I would tell you as well what Congressman Fortenberry was mentioning before about pluralism. It's one of those things that I'm amazed when I get into an American dialogue. We talk about the Middle East, and immediately Americans begin to talk about in the Middle East, well, maybe we should partition areas off of countries. And this should be the area of this country for this faith or for this tradition, and this tradition should have this area, but that not go into this area, and then make it so much more peaceful. And I'll always smile at them and I'll say, do we need that in America? And they'll say, well, no, we don't need that in America. We have religious liberty in America. You can be whatever faith you want to in any place. And I would say, then why would we require other countries to do that? Why would we assume in other places religious dignity and religious liberty would not work, but it works here every day? Why would that be? It's that simple challenge that you continue to bring, the simple reminder that you bring to Congress, just by being here, by you making the trip to come again, is beneficial. To remind every member of Congress and every person you interact with, religious liberty works here every day. Let's make that work everywhere, in every place, to be able to honor every faith as we do here. That should not be an American principle. That's a human rights and a dignity principle. Thanks for engaging us again. Thanks for not giving up on this. And let it be known, for the first time in history, a senator spoke shorter than a House member in a conversation.